Okay, good morning, fellow mushroom fans. Welcome to Concordia University's Forest Space. Thanks so much for joining us for today, Fungi Fest Montreal. This is the second time we've hosted Fungi Fest Montreal here at Forest Space. Fungi Fest is a community-driven initiative in Montreal celebrating the fascinating world of mushrooms through educational events, workshops, cultural activities. It aims to introduce the public to the diverse roles that fungi play in the ecosystems, sustainability, and our health. Now today, there's a couple events happening today, and the first one is Foraging Talk here with Susan Valyi. But we'd like to begin by acknowledging that Concordia University is located on unceded Indigenous lands in Chitauge, Montreal. We respect the continued connections with the past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community. Here at Forest Space, we work with our university community to help mobilize knowledge, co-creating daily activities that examine research questions, projects, things in development across the university. We're also running today's event as a live stream to both YouTube and Zoom. So if you're joining us there, you have any comments, questions, that's fantastic. Just pop them into the chat. We'll do our best to read them out. Same here in the space. If you have any comments, questions later on for Susan, just raise your hand. We'll run a microphone around just so others can hear online as well. Okay. It's very much my pleasure to now pass the microphone over to Susan Valyi, an artist and wild mushroom guide from Port Fortune, Ontario, and who for over a decade has been leading mushroom foraging walks in Rigaud, Hudson, and St. Lazare areas, and a certified wild mushroom guide that specializes helping people confidently identify common mushrooms, as well as the ones to avoid. We're very happy to welcome back Susan. Over to you.
Thank you. That was a pretty good introduction. That saved me a little bit. What I always tell people right off the bat, I'm not a mycologist. I'm a mushroom hunter. I'm a guide. I was certified about 10 years ago. And God, I've been hunting mushrooms much longer, probably 15 to 20 years. I used to run a booth at St. Anne Farmers Market for many years. I sold a lot of mushrooms, but now I just focus on guiding. People often ask me how I got into this. I hiked all my life, and I hiked with a friend, and she was the first to take an interest in mushrooms. And initially I thought, that's kind of boring. But we turned a corner and we saw a mushroom the size of a loaf of bread, and we were intrigued. Took us a week or so to identify it, but in the process, I got hooked. I never looked back. I've been doing this, as I said, for a long time. Sorry. I will show you, I rely on books. I also rely on mushroom apps, but I'll talk about that because I don't trust them entirely. I tell people to use a combination: internet, books, an app, and never one. But the best thing, of course, is to go out with a guide. So this is the Bible. It's all in French. It's really tough for me to navigate through this, but I do it. This is the book I cut my teeth on. I'll have them at my table so you can take a look. This is so much superior because the photos are excellent, which is so important for identification. I'll pass this around. You'll see the photos. Starting off, you need to know, when using a book like this, the first thing that you start to learn is that the mushrooms there's different families. And you start to identify the families, which makes it so much easier to navigate the book. When I take people out, when I talk, I always talk about the danger of mushroom hunting. You have to be so careful out there. For example, there is a mushroom that is absolutely deadly. If you were to ingest this mushroom, you would not live. Even a liver transplant would not save you. So one of the first things I do when I take people out, I actually hope to see this so I can show them, so they can see it much better than any photograph. And we do. We run into this quite a bit. And it's just like one of the reasons it's so important to go out with somebody, because they will show you these things. I can tell a story. Maybe I should do it now. I can pass this around. There's a few mushrooms here that are poisonous that we see a lot. For example, this one. This is a jack-o'-lantern. It's so toxic that if you were to see it in the woods at night, it actually glows. There are mushrooms that glow in the dark. So it gives you an idea what's in them, the toxicity. So now I can talk about something. I talk about this. It's an upsetting story, but it gives you an idea how dangerous this could be to a beginner. There was a woman in the Eastern Townships. This is the only story I know of a fatality. She was written up in Maclean's. She was described as that she knew her mushrooms, but she made a real, not even a beginner's mistake. It was such a huge mistake. She picked what I showed you, this really deadly mushroom. This is the destroying angel. She thought it was this mushroom. And you can see there are similarities, and to a beginner, a real beginner, this is where the danger could lie. And she did not survive. She ate 8 of these, and even the liver transplant couldn't save her. So I tell the story as a caution, but you'll see as I go on, there is no reason for this to happen. There's another story out there, you may have followed it this year, the woman who poisoned her relatives in Australia intentionally. I followed this story so closely because I wanted to know if she knew what she was doing, and she did. She's gone to prison now for 25 years. So now, I actually managed to pick something yesterday. This is an oyster mushroom. It's edible. It's quite hardy, quite firm. And the reason I brought it is I wanted to describe something. A mushroom on the ground. Below the ground is a whole network of what's called mycelium, a really important word to know in this business. And it's like the root system of the mushroom. It can go, there's a place in Oregon, there's one mushroom, the mycelium has spread for miles and miles. It's there under the ground, waiting for the right conditions. I talk about trees because it's an incredibly important association, trees and mushrooms. Believe it or not, underground, they touch roots, touch mycelium, and they exchange waters, sugars, nutrients. I didn't know this. I only learned this recently, and there's a fantastic film on Netflix called Fantastic Fungi, which describes this whole world beneath our feet. It's quite amazing. Hang on, I need a sip. Several years ago, I got the idea to create a poster. My goal was to represent local, easy to identify, good edibles, and I did it, it's seasonal. It starts up here with one of the best mushrooms, the morels. They're out in May, and we go all the way around and up into the very last mushroom, which they're out now. There's a few of them. There's a description of each mushroom. The text, you need a magnifying glass, but it's there. The info is there. There are 3,000 different mushrooms in Quebec. Oh no. I don't know how to turn this off. It's my son. He can hear me now. Wait, okay, never mind. Yeah, there's 3,000 mushrooms in Quebec. When I take people out, I say, you'll hear me say, I don't know. There's no way I can learn that many mushrooms. I don't know how many I know, probably a couple of hundred, but it's something, you'll hear me say. When I take people out, I say, don't take the little ones, because they just, if you were to fry them up, they would disappear. And we, in the mushroom world, we caution against little brown mushrooms because there are too many and they're too hard to distinguish one from another. I made probably one mistake. I put a little brown mushroom on this poster, and it is a very tough mushroom. It's not a beginner's mushroom, but I put it there because it's the only mushroom when I take people out, guaranteed people will have baskets full. They are so prolific, they will just cover huge areas, which is always fun. That's the September trip. A danger for people is when you're a beginner, and it's also a danger when you are more experienced, an expert, because this is what I'm really careful not to do. You start to challenge yourself to identify more difficult mushrooms. That's where it's dangerous. It's so much better. I say to people I take out, stick to this. There's a lot of variety. Just stick to this and you'll be safe. You can't get into any trouble. I like to talk about cooking mushrooms. When I was selling mushrooms, I was like the shoemaker's daughter. I didn't cook with mushrooms. Now that I'm not selling, I'm just guiding, I am cooking a lot of mushrooms. And I always tell people, they are really good for you. All mushrooms, even the store-bought mushrooms, are immunity boosters. So I think that's it. Yeah. So when you cook mushrooms, it's just a tip. Don't wash them. Even the store-bought mushrooms, never add water. Use a brush. You just brush them or paper towel them. And you use a good-sized frying pan to spread the mushrooms out. That's kind of an important tip for cooking mushrooms. And with a little butter or a little oil, and you'll see, like in a couple of minutes, they just release water, and you finish frying them in that till the water's gone. That's the best way to cook mushrooms. And it's pretty exciting out there. The variety from a mushroom like this, which tastes, if you cook it right, it tastes like a sirloin tip steak. It's so delicious. These are all good edibles. Some are really surprising. This is chicken of the woods, which actually tastes like chicken and has the texture of chicken, which is, it's pretty surprising. All of them need a little different treatment. Always a good idea to cook for a long time, because this mushroom, this honey mushroom, which I caution against, you really need to cook it 7 to 10 minutes, because there is a little toxin in it and it cooks out. So that's important. Some people react, most people don't. There's a few mushrooms, even that chicken of the woods, a really small percent of the population will get a bad stomach. So when we always say, when you find something new, into something new, do a little test. Just a little piece, fry it up, eat it, see if you react, and then you're good for the rest of your life picking those mushrooms. Let me see. Guiding. I love guiding. I might just read this. I've had some interesting experiences. I've met some terrific people. There is one fellow who comes from time to time who is an amazing photographer. He doesn't pick mushrooms, he only photographs them. He has a light attached to his camera so the mushrooms are beautifully lit. It's not unusual to see him lying on his belly on the trail, taking close-ups of mushrooms. I predictably always say, don't mind him, he just likes lying around. Okay, where are we? Last year was very interesting. I had a lot of people come back, which is always a good sign, and I took out a few small private groups, including a wonderful group of octogenarian retired documentary filmmakers. I usually take out small groups, like 6 to 8 people, because I need, I don't like more because it's too hard to talk to everybody. It's nice to have a small group. Hang on. And this year was, for me, a big boon because people came forward and offered their private land for me to take groups out, which is so preferable. I always started out on public trails. And this may be a bit my fault. I've taken so many people out that a lot of those trails now are picked over. I'll go and there's nothing left. So, kind of my fault. I have, oh, wait a minute. One of my favorite spots, I don't know if you know the area, is near Lachute. It's an incredibly exquisite forest. It's completely carpeted in moss, and it's a plantation of red pine. And in this forest is a very valuable mushroom called matsutake. And unfortunately, this spot has become known. And the last time I went, a bus pulled in, and maybe 20, 30 people piled out with baskets. That was it. It was over. I don't go back there. There's no point. Oh, just a little note. Oh, yeah, a lot of the parks now, this trail that I just described, it's now posted, no mushroom picking. And I've learned in the last few years, I think all the parks now in Quebec, no mushroom picking. It's just not allowed. We were trying to get to the bottom of this last year with some of the mushroomers here. I don't really know the reason. I don't know if it's liability. People are, these parks are worried about people hurting themselves with picking mushrooms. Don't really know, and it's a shame. It's a shame that that's happening. I guide in the Rigaud, Saint Lazare area primarily. I charge $40 per person, and I have a few expenses, and I scout, which nobody else does that I know of. I want to make sure that the people that I take out are happy that they find mushrooms. I wanted to talk about the changes that I've seen in the last decade or so. The popularity of mushrooms is most definitely on the increase. More people are out in the woods hunting for them. And I always hope that people are playing it safe. It makes me a little nervous. We are discovering more and more about the health benefits of eating mushrooms. It's a great way to ingest all kinds of minerals, vitamins, protein. They are antioxidants. They are really a great food, unlike what my mother told me when I was growing up. She said, mushrooms are useless. There's no benefits at all from eating. That has really changed. And I kind of showed you what we pick. And I wanted to mention the discoveries, and they are happening really fast. People are in mycoremediation. Oyster mushrooms, for example, can eat up oil spills, which I found amazing. They can also eat plastic, plastic, they can eat that. And also, I know which mushroom this is referring to. They can be grown into forms to replace styrofoam packaging. So this is like all these things are happening, which makes it exciting for me because I'm always learning. I'm always discovering new things. Yeah, I never stop learning. It's a curious and fascinating world. There are so many stories that grab my attention, like this article about Chernobyl. They just recently found this really frightening looking mushroom. It's jet black, and it's growing in, where there was a nuclear meltdown. I'm very curious about this. This mushroom has never been seen before. I'm sure I'll hear more about this. And then I brought another interesting story. This mushroom. This is a hoof fungus. And it grows usually like in proliferation on many different hardwoods. And the story that I find fascinating about this is several of them, hang on, were discovered in the possession of the famous, he's called the Iceman, Ötzi, the Iceman. He's a 5,000-year-old body that was frozen in a glacier, and with the melt was revealed. And he had like 3 of these in his backpack. And I'm pretty sure I know why. They are also called a tinder conch. If you rub it against wood, it will ignite. You can see you'll have a real ember in there. So it was a fire starter, and it's also, this one is antiseptic, so he may have been carrying it too for its medicinal properties. And interesting also, inside here is something called amadou, and you can make a very wearable leather from this material. So, stories like this I really find interesting. Now, I'm going to talk to you about something that's kind of upsetting. We had a huge drought. I live between Montreal and Ottawa, and I'm surrounded by farmers. And this year, there was no rain, almost for 3 months. And the farmers lost all their corn, all their soya. And one farmer told me that the maple sugar business could be in trouble because the maple trees have not been able to build up their reservoir of water that they need next spring to produce sap. So I don't know. I don't know how that's going to pan out. But all of this I found disturbing. It's the first year that there were no mushrooms, nothing at all. And in the last 10 years, I've noticed this more and more. I'm collecting less and less and less. And I kind of face the reality. This is climate change. This is really, really pretty serious. I don't know what to anticipate next year. It could turn around. My partner, who has moved to Nova Scotia, she had a theory that with all the droughts that we've had in the last years, the mycelium has been shrinking. So you're just not seeing as many mushrooms flush. But I read something much more encouraging, is that the mycelium in a drought, mushrooms are pretty resilient. The mycelium will just sink lower. And waiting for the right conditions, we'll get our mushrooms back. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm kind of worried about the trees too. As you probably all know, we've lost our elms, and now we're losing our ash trees. And they say this is climate change because it's weakening, these droughts weaken the trees, and they become vulnerable to insect invasions, which is what's killing them. I think I'm just about done, you guys. Yeah, so if you have any questions, I have a table there. I've got a few things there that I can show you. I've got posters. Yeah, questions? Anyone? Mm.
Thank you. You mentioned in the bit about cooking mushrooms that you shouldn't rinse mushrooms with water
Yes.
before cooking them. Why exactly should you not do that?
Okay, that's easy to explain. They already have a lot of water in them. You don't want to add water to them at all, because that's kind of your job, to cook out that water with the technique that I described. I just realized it's 11:30, you guys.
Sure is. I think we have time for like maybe one or two more questions. Does anyone have? Well, I suppose not.
Okay. Sorry? Oh, yes.
We can give a
Yes,
hand. Let's
yes,
give him
yes.
the round of applause for Susan. It's good.
I was ready to leave.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, there's a video. Okay.
Did you ever wonder about mushrooms? And how many interesting edible mushrooms are out there in the wilds of Quebec and Eastern Ontario? Meet Susan Valyi and her collaborator, Chantal. They'll guide you on a mushroom foraging adventure you won't soon forget.
I've been doing this for years, and together we've been doing this for a couple of years. So I'm going to show you my poster. This I designed years ago, and it's a guide to the most recognizable and edible mushrooms. There's no poisonous mushrooms on this poster. That's something that I will show you. So what's really important is to show you what are the poisonous mushrooms that are out there. You'll see, I think a lot of these still, Sam, they're probably still out. These are Amanita muscaria. Don't pick those. This is the Amanita, I think this is virosa. And it is the most poisonous mushroom. It's fatal. There's no recovery from this mushroom. Some mushrooms will make you sick, but this one will kill you. So we'll probably see them, and we'll show them to you. And the important way to recognize them is they grow out of an egg. About in here. We should find hedgehogs. I'm really hoping that we find trumpets, because these are really exceptional mushrooms. And as the lobsters are over, we could get lucky. We could find king balik or chicken of the woods. And this one also I'm looking for. It's a saffron milky cow. Oh, wow. And when we see them, we'll show everybody too, so that you see an actual sample. And when you pick mushrooms, I don't have one on me, but the way to do it is cut them at the base or pull them out and just trim off the dirt. The idea being that you put clean mushrooms in your basket. Because if they're dirty, you'll be so sorry in the kitchen. It's really hard to clean them if they get dirty. Okay, so we're done. Let's go. Let's get out there.
Yeah, I went to Susan's mushroom picking once before. I really enjoyed it, but I feel like I need the expert so that I make sure I get the right things. So we'll see what we find today.
No, they're not. They're lentil or something else. And I'm not edible. What again?
Russula mushrooms.
Woo! Thanks, everyone. Thank you for coming in. Thanks for your questions. We're going to close up the Zoom and the live stream now, but this remains available on our YouTube channel, and you should revisit it, and you should share it. You should also come back around 2 o'clock. I think we're going to have Le Conseil Fongique with Félix Zagui. And then after that, a little later on, a big block champignon, a growing workshop here in the space with Virginie Boivin, as well as many things happening at the mushroom market out on the street. Thanks for joining us. Fungi Fest continues.